Hello, everyone. This is Live Life Well TV host Robert Landau. We are here with a very special episode of our weekly trivia program here on Live Life Well TV that we call Did You Know? So, why is this particular episode so very special? Well, a couple of reasons. One, it's the first of a number of upcoming episodes, where number two, we pay special tribute to those wonderful Hollywood movie blockbusters. So we're going to take two blockbuster, mostly movie musicals per episode, and pay special tribute to them. This episode, we're going to kick the whole thing off, and stay tuned for future episodes in the coming weeks. But this episode, we're going to honor Singin' in the Rain and The Wizard of Oz, two major, absolutely incredible films. And it's what you don't know about those two movies, lots of fun stuff that will make tuning into this episode so very worthwhile. So stay tuned. Three, two, one. So, in our first trivia tribute to the golden age of Hollywood films, we would like to acknowledge metv.co and goodhousekeeping.com. So, let's start out with Singin' in the Rain. This MGM musical has been entertaining us for more than 60 years, and what an incredible movie it is. It was made back in 1952. You remember the cast? Do you know the cast? I'm sure many of you do. Let's talk about the incomparable Gene Kelly. How about the amazing Donald Connor? How about the very multi-talented Debbie Reynolds and the very beautiful and seductive Ms. Sid Charisse? What a bunch of major cast members. Through some of the most memorable and exuberant musical and comedy sequences ever filmed, Singin' in the Rain capitalized on the dilemmas from the transition from silent pictures to pictures with sound. Kelly, ever the perfectionist, found a way to include a now legendary extended fantasy dance number with Sid Charisse. And if you haven't seen that, and if you don't want to see the whole movie, go onto YouTube and do a search for Gene Kelly and Sid Charisse Singin' in the Rain. It is an astounding routine. Donald O'Connor's gymnastics in the famed Make 'Em Laugh number from Singin' in the Rain are so stunningly fast for today's audiences that they might resemble computer-generated effects. Debbie Reynolds, was only 19 years old when she starred opposite Gene Kelly in the film, and it made her a major star. Singin' in the Rain's most unforgettable sequence, as you probably well know and remember, is Kelly's performance of the title song. That image, those images of him swinging from a lamppost in the pouring rain, delighted a falling in love audience who still to this day loves that number and loves this film. By the way, that dance sequence of Gene singing in the Rain happens to be one of the most iconic images and iconic dance numbers in all of motion picture history. So let's start out, after our brief introduction to the film, with some did you knows concerning the film. Did you know that most of the songs used in Singin' in the Rain are not original? Singin' in the Rain, about a film company's transition from silent pictures to talkies, was filmed, as we said, back in 1952. But in the movie, the plot It takes place in the 1920s and thus borrows songs made famous by older movies. For instance, the Good Morning number, performed by Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney in the 1937 film Babes in Arms, is also featured, not with that cast, in Singin' in the Rain. Garland also performed that film's title track, Singin' in the Rain, in the 1940 film Little Nellie Kelly. Did you know that one of the original songs in Singin' in the Rain is actually a ripoff? Donald O'Connor's famous rendition of Make 'em Laugh is considered one of two original songs written for the film, but it's not very original at all. It owes its melody and beats to Be a Clown from the 1948 film The Pirate, performed, funnily enough, by Gene Kelly. Did you know that Debbie Reynolds took the bus to the set of Singin' in the Rain each and every day? Why? Because, as we said before, Debbie Reynolds was only 19 years old when she starred in Singin' in the Rain. Kelly, who plays her love interest, by the way, was 39. Still, Debbie lived at home with her parents during the film's production and took multiple buses to set every morning. Prior to her role as Kathy Selden, she had never really danced before, which is an amazing trivia fact for me, though her background as a gymnast helped her learn the routines. Debbie later famously said, Singin' in the Rain and childbirth were the two hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. And if you look at Debbie's dance numbers in Singin' in the Rain, I think you will well understand why she made that comment. Did you know that the production code for Singin' in the Rain cost the movie a steamy moment? During the Vamp Dance segment of the Broadway Melody Ballet, a dance routine featuring Gene Kelly and Sid Charisse in the film, there is a cut moment that was deemed too sensitive by censors. The actual footage has been lost, but is believed to be a move where Charisse wraps her legs around Kelly's waist. Nowadays, people wouldn't even blink twice because they're shoving too much popcorn in their mouth. Did you know that Reynolds and O'Connor were also supposed to be in the Singin' in the Rain sequence with Gene Kelly? Kelly's rain dance wasn't meant to be a solo affair. In an early draft of the script, O'Connor and Reynolds were supposed to be there too, and it was to be performed when the three emerged from a restaurant after deciding to change their flop film into a musical. The scene was reworked so that it was just Kelly, and of course now it is legendary, as are the misconceptions about it. Though it's true that Kelly was ill during the filming of the scene with a temperature of 103, it's not true that he filmed his dance sequence in one take. Did you know that Donald O'Connor smoked 4 packs a day during filming of Singin' in the Rain? O'Connor's smoking habit made his dance routines incredibly difficult, as you can well imagine. He said, I was smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day then, and getting up those walls was murder. And that was what he said concerning his Make 'em Laugh performance, where he was required to do that as part of the routine. The strenuous scene was filmed in one day and on a concrete floor, but had to be refilmed days later because the film strip was fogged. So not only did he have to do it once where he thought it was fine, he had to do it a number of days later again. On the flip side, Sid Charisse actually smoked her first and only cigarette during her scene in the film. Did you know that Debbie Reynolds took home most of the famous costumes that were worn by her and the other cast members of the film? Reynolds was known for saving and collecting artifacts from classic films, including two pairs of ruby red slippers from The Wizard of Oz and Marilyn Monroe's infamous white dress from The 7-Year Itch. So it's no surprise that she found herself with a number of the costumes from Singin' in the Rain. They were eventually sold in a 2011 auction in Hollywood to private collectors and to museums. Did you know that Gene Kelly was known as an absolute tyrant on set? Kelly not only starred in the film, but also co-directed it with Stanley Donen and choreographed all the dance numbers. Because of his investment, his co-stars say that he was irritable and a bit scary during filming. Donald O'Connor, in particular, did not enjoy working with Kelly, admitting later that he was in constant fear of getting yelled at. Gene Kelly was very much like Fred Astaire was. They were absolute self-admitted perfectionists. And so they wanted everything to be perfect. And to that end, to get all those complicated routines perfect, particularly with somebody like Debbie Reynolds, who had never danced before. Wow, that took a lot of discipline, and you had to be very strict to get these things looking the way they do in the film. Let's move on to the Wizard of Oz trivia. I don't think there's a person on the face of this earth that hasn't seen the Wizard of Oz. In fact, if there happens to be life on Mars, I would say that they have seen the Wizard of Oz as well, at least once. But here's a bit of an introduction. Wikipedia says that The Wizard of Oz is a 1939 American musical fantasy film produced by MGM. Often seen as one of the greatest films of all time, it is the most commercially successful adaptation of L. Frank Baum's 1900 children's fantasy novel, The Wizard of Oz, directed primarily by Victor Fleming, who, by the way, had to leave the production filming of The Wizard of Oz to take over the troubled Gone with the Wind filming. The film stars, as you probably well know, Judy Garland as Dorothy Gale, alongside Ray Bolger, Jack Haley, Burt Lahr, and the always unforgettable Margaret Hamilton. So let's get to some did you knows. Let's start with this one. Did you know that Dorothy's dress was actually pink? Dorothy's blue and white gingham dress was blue and light pink, which was easier to shoot in Technicolor, which was something brand new to the industry in those days. Did you know that those ruby slippers weren't always red? The famous sequin shoes were originally silver, like they are in the Oz books. But MGM studio head Louis B. Mayer wanted to show off Technicolor, so he changed the hue from silver to ruby red. Did you know that now you can see those shoes in the Smithsonian, at least a pair of them? The ruby red slippers that Judy Garland wore in the film were anonymously donated to the Smithsonian in 1979. The attraction is so popular that the carpet surrounding the shoes in the museum has been replaced multiple times due to visitors' wear and tear. Did you know that another pair of the ruby slippers were stolen? Judy Garland actually wore several pairs of those shoes during the filming of The Wizard of Oz. Another pair was on display in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, at a museum honoring the actress. In 2005, a thief broke in, smashed the plexiglass case, and stole that pair of the famous red slippers. But did you also know that those slippers were later recovered by the FBI? Believe it or not, get this, after a 13-year manhunt, officers finally recovered the stolen shoes during an undercover operation in Minneapolis. However, there have been no arrests made, and the law enforcement agency is still seeking information about that 2005 theft. Did you know that the Scarecrow was originally supposed to be the Tin Man? Buddy Epson, who would later be known for hits like the Beverly Hillbillies, was originally cast as the Scarecrow, but he decided to swap roles with Ray Bolger. But did you also know that he had to drop out due to severe allergic reaction? That's Buddy Epson. When filming started, Epson had cramps and trouble breathing due to a severe allergic reaction to the aluminum dust used in the movie makeup. It forced him to leave the production. Jack Haley then assumed the role of the Tin Man, and the rest is cinematic history. I bet Buddy Epson never got over that loss. Did you know that the Tin Man cried chocolate syrup? Oh, yes. Of course, he's supposed to shed machine oil because he's a Tin Man, but that didn't photograph well. The solution? Chocolate syrup is what's really streaming down Jack Haley's silver face in the scene where he cries. Did you know that Toto, the dog, earned a lot? And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Terry, the little female Cairn Terrier that plays Toto, was paid $125 a week, though the dog's trainer always bemoaned not asking for more, since the producers were desperate to cast Terry. And did you know that Toto, or Terry, earned even more than the Munchkins did? The Munchkins took home less than half of Toto's salary at only $50 a week. And Toto didn't even have to sing and dance. The Munchkins would earn $50 a week. Toto earned $100 a week. Did you know that the movie led to the creation of an actual activist group? Many little people who played Munchkins found lifelong friendships on the set of The Wizard of Oz. The gathering of little people on the set led to the formation of something called Midgets of America Advocacy Group, now known as Little People of America, according to activist Billy Barty. Did you know that the film's most famous song was almost cut? Apparently, the studio didn't like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. They thought that it went on for too long. Thankfully, they chose to leave it in. Did you know that the Wicked Witch got burned while filming? Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch, was badly burned, making her smoky exit in that famous scene where she threatens Dorothy and Glenda, the Good Witch, and all of the Munchkins as she goes back down into the floor. At that moment when that happened, there's a huge burst of flames, and you don't see the rest of her going down into the stage basement, but her dress, hat, and broom at that moment caught on fire and severely burned her face and hand. Margaret had to recuperate for no less than 6 weeks before she could continue the role of the Wicked Witch of the West. Did you also know that her green makeup was quite intense. Uh, and what it did to her skin actually might have been worse. Hamilton's green face paint was so toxic that she actually couldn't eat once it was applied and had to subsist on a liquid diet via a straw during the day. Plus, her face would stay green for weeks after shooting because of the copper-based ingredients. So, I mean, my goodness, Buddy Epson had a reaction from the silver face paint when he was supposed to play the Tin Man. Margaret Hamilton had a problem with the green paint on her face. This is amazing. But did you also know that a lot of Margaret Hamilton's scenes were unfortunately cut? On top of the physical torture she had to endure, most of the Wicked Witch's scenes had to be edited or cut completely after being deemed too terrifying for children. And you know what? I can understand that because I was one of them. It was a tradition in my house, our house, when I was growing up, that every Christmas, when The Wizard of Oz would air on TV, my brother and I would sit down and watch it on the advice of my parents. I never enjoyed seeing The Wicked Witch. As a matter of fact, she scared the hell out of me. I can't imagine what her other scenes that left in piles on the cutting floor, if they were more scary, oh man, I wouldn't have made it through the rest of the movie. Did you know that Glinda, the good witch from the East, had magical genes? The stunning Billy Burke, who played Glinda the Good Witch, of the North, not the East, was 54 years old at the time, 18 years older than her counterpart, Margaret Hamilton, who portrayed the Wicked Witch of the West. So Glinda had magical genes. I think Billy Burke, if I'm not mistaken, was married to Florence Ziegfeld, but she was absolutely beautiful in The Wizard of Oz, wasn't she? Did you know that Ray Bolger looked like a scarecrow for an extra year after filming subsided? The scarecrow face prosthetics that Ray Bolger wore during the filming of The Wizard of Oz actually left a major pronounced pattern of lines on his face that took more than a year to vanish. Wow, lots of karma associated with playing those characters, don't you think? And also, did you know that there happens to be a hidden cameo in The Wizard of Oz? A woman can be heard saying, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo," in the Scarecrow song, "If I Only Had a Heart." I seem to remember that now that I think about it. The woman who sang this was the voice of Snow White in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That was made in 1937. Her name was Adriana Casoletti. For her single line, she was paid $1,000. Now that's quite a cameo. Here are two more interesting facts concerning The Wizard of Oz. Did you know, before we close, did you know that Judy Garland had to wear a corset to appear more childlike? When the 16-year-old actress was told that she got the job, she was immediately ordered to lose 12 pounds, and she still had to wear a corset. And the final "did you know" also concerns Judy Garland. Did you know that Judy Garland almost didn't get the part of Dorothy? Despite being the producer's favorite for obvious reasons, many other actresses were considered for this role. These include Deanna Durbin, Bonita Granville, and, believe it or not, a very young Shirley Temple. But I believe that nobody on the face of this earth was meant to play Dorothy Gale than the amazing Judy Garland. And that wraps up this special Hollywood trivia to two amazing movies, Singin' in the Rain and The Wizard of Oz. Stay tuned for another episode of Did You Know next week. That'll be episode 67, when we take a look, trivia-wise, did you know-wise, at two other major Hollywood blockbuster movies of yesteryear. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Live Life Well TV host Robert Landau.